already shared. So this time I'm going to share about the outreach portion. And our team of 10 went to 3 different locations. And the first location here is Gorka.
그 트레이닝 마치고서 이제 10사람씩 그룹을 지어가지고 이제 미션 필드를 나갔는데 처음으로 간 곳은 콜카라는 곳입니다.
Yeah, so I want to talk a little bit about what my expectations were before I went on outreach. So the very beginning of lecture phase, like a lot had happened. I explained all these things are happening in me and in the school, and I heard a lot of stories of how like different outreaches of like crazy healings, like crazy miracles, like a bunch of God really working.
필드에 나가기 전에 이제 주례를 받고 그러면서 하나님께서 필드에 나가면 어떻게 역사하시는지에 대해서 하나님의 기적과 하시는 그 일들을 얘기를 듣고 그래서 막 그런 흥분 때 기대를 가지고 있었는데.
Yeah, but outreach was like a bit different than what I had expected.
근데 직접 나가 보니까는 아우리치가 자기가 기대했던 그런 모양이 아니었고.
And through it all of us, we realized that He was teaching us something.
그 아우리치를 통해서 오히려 하나님께서 그 선교 나간 사람들을 가르치기를 원하시는 것을 깨달을 수가 있었습니다.
Okay, so I just want to talk about in the beginning how we had a lot of vision, and we would pray about the location before we go and get what this place is, what the original design of this place is, and what God wants us to do there. And one of the things that we felt kind of negative was that, or a challenging thing for our team was that there's going to be a lot of spiritual warfare.
나가기 전에 이제 그 갈 도시의 그 빌리지에 대해서 그 빌리지에 대해서 어떻게 그곳은 어떤 곳이고 그리고 또 그곳에 대해서 이제 여러 가지 공부를 하고 그리고 챌린징 그러니까는 다시 얘기해봐.
We felt that there was going to be a lot of spiritual warfare.
그곳에 가면은 그 영적인 그런 싸움에서 그러는 그런 도전을 가지고.
We really felt that this was going to be a battlefield, and we really had to put on the armor of God.
영적인 전쟁이 있을 거라고 그렇게 생각을 하고서 갔죠.
And so there are a lot of things. There are several things that we were focusing on for our team. For all 3 different locations, we went to build up the church.
우리가 중점적으로 하고자 했던 것은 교회 가는 세 곳에서 하나님의 교회를 세우는 것이었습니다.
And doing children ministry, preaching teachings, and going home to home.
그러니까 아이들을 가르치고 또 말씀을 가르치고 그리고 또 가정들을 방문하면서 하나님에 대해서 복음을 전가하자고 했죠.
Okay, so there were multiple things that happened throughout, but I want to talk about one big thing that happened in Gorka.
여러 가지 일이 있었는데 그 중에서 골카에서 아주 중요한 그런 일이 있었습니다.
So, Papa, can you skip forward just a little bit? You just click on it. Next. Well, okay, so one day, actually in the very beginning, it was kind of hard for us to do much ministry because it was a time of Christmas, and we would go to different villages and do caroling, and that's what this was, and we would sing and do 축복 노래, I guess, and then one day we decided, just our team, to go hike to a different village. And as we were hiking, we passed by one small village. It was maybe 5 homes, and we passed by this one man just laying on the floor, flies covering him. He just looked very dirty and just, I don't know. He was just on the floor, on the road.
우리가 처음에 갔을 때는 어라운드 크리스마스 타임이어서 이제 캐롤 이렇게 가는 곳에서 철치에서 캐롤도 부르고 크리스마스송을 부르고 막 그렇게 했었는데 어느 날 한 거리에서 한 남자를 만났는데 너무 아주 더럽고 아주 이상한 그런 모습으로 누워 있었어요.
And he was like laying right next to this like very small like house, if you want to call it, like a shack. And there was so much smoke coming out of there, and we saw that there was like a mother and a child locked inside the home. So we like opened it and let them out, and we found out that's actually their husband. And crazy thing is, we felt like, okay, we need to pray for this man. We need to speak to this man. So we got him up and we talked to him, and the wife ended up telling us that he was actually the first Christian in this, like one of the first Christians, like in this area.
그 거리에서 누워 있던 아주 거지 같은 그 사람이 그 옆에 바로 집이 있었는데 그곳에서 아주 가난한 그런 가족이 살고 있었는데 그 집이 바로 이 남자의 집이었고 와이프하고 아이들이 살고 있었는데 이제 이 사람에 대해서 정말 우리가 기도를 해야 되겠다 하고서 기도를 했는데 나중에 알고 봤더니 이 남자가 그 빌리지의 첫 그리스도인이었다고 그래요.
Yeah, but a lot had happened, and he was basically like possessed by like a demon, and his symptoms were that of a schizophrenic. Do you know schizophrenia?
이 사람이 그리스도인이었지만은 영적인 그런 이 동네는 굉장히 이곳에는 힌두 부디스트 그런 게 스트롱하기 때문에 그리스도인이었지만 이 사람이 그리스도인으로서 스트롱하게 서지 못하니까 이 데몬 포제스가 된 거예요. 데몬이 들어가가지고 그 빛이 발현가 돼 있었어요.
So he would hear voices and see like images of like this beautiful lady bringing in gold with like cattle and stuff like that. And he would always run out the house and come back like completely like beaten up by people. And it was just like a really terrible time for the family and for everybody around them, because he was like one of the first like leaders, like leading people, like teaching them about God. But seeing him like this, like it was a big mess. And we were praying, like declaring and praying over this man for at least an hour and a half, just praying for him, for deliverance. And slowly, little by little, he was getting better, but the thing was, he was still like very out of it. Like he couldn't even like look in anyone's eyes. There was still something like wrong with it.
이 사람이 환상 그러니까는 이상한 그런 환상들을 보고 어떤 여자가 이쁜 여자가 와서 뭐 골드를 오프하고 막 그런 제정신이 하는 그런 환상들을 보는데 그리고서는 동네를 막 다니면은 사람들한테 두들겨 맞고 그래가지고 집으로 돌아오고 그랬던 거예요. 그래서 이제 그 선교팀이 이 남자를 붙들고서 정말 1시간 반 동안 정말로 그 남자를 위해서 기도를 했는데 차츰차츰 제정신에 돌아오고 있었어요.
Also, yeah, the small shack they were living in was actually not their home. Their home he had burned down. He like lit it on fire, so it was completely in ashes. And after a while, like several of us were actually like preaching the gospel to him again, and like helping him, because he already once knew God, but to like come back into that path again. And then all the villagers were around like supporting him and they were praying for him as well. And eventually he took us to his burned down house, went inside, and he brought out a bunch of rocks. And we were like, what are these rocks? And he told us that they're from monasteries, but they all each have a name. So like these are his gods that he had collected.
이 사람이 묵고 있던 그 집은 자기 원래 집이 아니고 자기 집은 이 남자가 불을 질러가지고 이제 그곳에서 번다운되고 그리고 가족들이 나가서 살고 있었는데 정신이 들고 나서 자기 집으로 이제 데려가는데 번다운된 그곳으로 데려가가지고 그곳에서 돌멩이들을 가지고 락을 가지고 나오면서 이게 자기가 섬기는 그런 신들이라고 얘기를 하는 거죠.
from there he knew he wanted to get rid of this. He wanted to give his life again to Jesus and like walk in that path again of the love and full healing, because he knew where he was not good, obviously. And so we thank God there was actually like a suspension bridge, kind of a suspension bridge over there, and he threw every single rock over the bridge, and that was like, from there we prayed for him again and he got freedom from it. But
그 돌들을 이게 이성경을 이제 하나님을 믿는 자로서 우상을 섬기던 그것을 깨닫고 이거를 이제 하나씩 그 브리지 그 동네에서 다른 데로 가는 그 브리지에서 서스펜션 그 브리지에서 그 돌들을 하나하나 이제 다 버리기를 원하고 그렇게 함으로 해서 이 남자가 정말 다시 회복되는 그 셋프리되는 그런 일들이 있었습니다.
And the very next week he came, he was a completely different man. He looked like 10 years younger. His eyes were clear. He was dressed nice and even like had his little daughter with him, and he was even praying over the people. And like that's only Jesus can do that.
아멘.
그런 일이 있고 나서 그 다음날 그 남자가 완전히 딴 사람 돼가지고 10년은 더 젊은 모습으로 완전 온전한 모습으로 와가지고는 그 딸까지 데리고 와서 정말 다른 사람들을 앞에 이제 참 그리스도인으로서 그 사람들을 위해서 기도하는 그런 역사가 있었는데 이것은 하나님만이 할 수 있었던 그런 일이었습니다.
Yeah. So that's like a really big thing that happened in Gorka. But like I said, there was so much spiritual warfare even on that day. I was struggling so much as I was praying for him as well. I had to keep praying over myself because the enemy kept attacking and putting like all these like evil things in my head, and I knew that it wasn't me. So like at that time, like I was able to identify and say like no, like I have to rebuke and like bind it.
그 영적인 그 전쟁이 그 남자에게뿐만 아니고 기도를 하는 사람들은 특히 현이한테 굉장히 영적으로 도전을 해오고 그래서 아주 잘못된 그런 생각들이 자꾸 들고 하나님이 기뻐하시지 않는 그런 생각들이 자꾸 공격을 해와서 이거는 하나님께로 온 것이 아니다 하고서는 그것에서 이제 그 데빌 스피릿을 아주 하고 쫓아내버렸습니다.
Get out of here. But yeah, Gorka overall, for everybody, I know it was a very difficult time, like spiritually, physically, mentally, emotionally. For me, I was like a complete wreck, and I had no idea why. And later on, like I realized, like just because of how much, I realized how real the spiritual world is, and that constantly, whether there's like fight, there's a war, and we have to constantly pray over it, because this place, like it was before they all became Christians. Yeah, my mom said they're all Hindu, and even the way that they're living their life now was still that of a Hindu. They're very like just got to know God, just became Christians. They're very new, and they don't understand a lot of things, and it's a lot of like a lot of rules that they're following, and just like their past life, that like serving multiple gods was still kind of like in them. So even in their household, they would have like items from like other gods that were still like having a hold on that family, that they were not able to get set free from.
그러니까 이 돌파에서 모든 골카에서 정말로 그 영적인 그런 싸움이 굉장히 얼마나 심했는지 모두가 다 너무 힘든 영적으로 굉장한 그런 힘든 전쟁을 하는 그런 곳이었고 그래서 정말 깨달은 게 이곳은 정말 영적으로 얼마나 홀드하고 있는지 악한 영이 그 사람들이 이제까지 그리스도인이 되기 전까지 살았던 그 습관들, 관습들 그리고 아직도 그리스도인이지만 이제 어린아이가 같은 이제 하나님을 알기 시작하고 예수를 알기 시작하기 때문에 그 영적인 그 홀드가 아직도 깨어지지 않고 그래서 그 사람들을 다시 옛날 습관으로 살게 하고 하는 그런 게 있기 때문에 굉장한 영적인 그 전쟁이 있었던 곳이었습니다.
Yeah, because they didn't know. And also like maybe it was the second to last day. Maybe our team decided to have a prayer burn, a 16-hour prayer burn. Do you know? Prayer burn. So we're burning. So we're like fasting and just praying for 16 hours.
16 hour 이제 거기서 떠나가기 이틀 전에 이제 16 hour 동안은 그 패스팅하면서 전적으로 이제 기도하는 그런 시간을 가졌어요.
And after all that time, we all had like 4 times we had to lead, and we got to talk about like pray about topics that we really wanted to pray over these people here, because even before then, God told us that He highlighted this specific people, and that they're a city on a hill, and from there they're going to be an example of true like people that are in love with Jesus.
하나님께서 이 지역의 사람들, 그러니까는 이 돌카에 아우리치했던 이 사람들을 정말 이 사람들을 모본으로 삼아서 하나님의 역사를 나타내기로 원하고 하나님이 사랑하시는 것을 이 사람들 본을 보여서 그 빌리지를 나타내기로 원하셔서 정말 이 네 번을 통해서 이 사람들을 놓고서 계속 기도를 했어요.
And finally that night, that last hour, we all rallied together, and we were like going one after another, just like praying over the people, and just this of Gorka, and we felt like my one leader, Dichen, and my other teammate Ellie, as they were like praying like separately, they felt that there was actually like a sacrificial altar near the church that we were in.
In a vision?
No, they knew, yeah, kind of like a vision, yeah.
그렇게 기도하고 이제 마지막으로 다 함께 모여서 이제 이 사람들을 한 사람 한 사람 두고서 기도하고, 그런데 이제 이 팀의 리더들이 따로 이제 이것을 위해서 기도를 하는데 교회 밖에 sacrifice 하는, 그러니까 번제단을 비전으로 봤다는 거예요.
So we all
하나님께 번제를 드리는 그런.
So at that time we all had to get together, and we're just like praying like over this and to like defeat the enemy, because it really was such a spiritual war, and we knew that there was a war going on there, and at the very end, long story short, we knew that we won, that God won, that we had won the war, and that the enemy was defeated. Like that, yeah.
계속적으로 이제 기도를 하고 그렇게 하면서 하나님께서 정말 이 전쟁을 이기셨다는 그런 확신을 이 모든 사람들에게 주셨어요.
That there's also like hope for these people, and that they're not going to be in bondage anymore.
이제는 더 이상 이 사람들의 그 올드 습관에 잡혀서 그런 옛 모습으로 들어가지 않고 이제 하나님의 사람들을 거듭났다는 그런 확신을 주셨죠.
Yeah, and even through and through, like as I was trekking in Gorka, trekking was probably one of the hardest part here for me, especially because of my knee. But as we're going back trekking, I was having a very difficult time, and I was honestly very angry and hungry, and just a lot of things just going on, like confused and just frustrated, so much emotions. And we were trekking for about 7 hours. We hadn't eaten anything yet. I was separated. Me and 2 other friends were separated from the whole group, so I thought we lost them. So at that time, like, I don't know what was going on in my heart, but God, in the end, was really like teaching me. But the thing was, what happened after was we got to the lunch location in like 15 minutes. My friend like took some of my stuff off because she saw that I was like really struggling, and like there I like broke down. I was just crying, and after that we said, okay, we have 4 more hours to trek. But the moment we started trekking again, a tractor showed up, and it took us the rest of the way off the mountain. It would have been a 4-hour trek, but it took us less than an hour. And from there I just know, like, God, you're so faithful, and He sees my every little struggle, and He's always there for me.
그 사역을 마치고 이제 다시 걸어서 이제 트레킹 해가지고 내려가는데 7시간 동안을 이제 다시 그 트레킹하고 내려오면서 이상하게 막 마음이 편치가 않고 계속 영적으로 그런 공격을 당하는 그런 느낌, 화가 나고 아주
physically tired.
배도 고프고 막 이렇게 마음이 이지하지 않은 그런 상태에서 이제 다시 또 더 가야 되는데 두 사람이 다른 그룹에서 떨어져가지고는 길을 잃은지도 모르겠고 너무 힘들게 그렇게 이제 7시간을 내려와서 런치 플레이스에 도달했는데 그곳에서 이제 다시 4시간을 더 가야지 이제 내려되는데 그때 트로트가 갑자기 나타나서 라이드를 해줘가지고는 쉽게 내려갈 수가 있어요. 그럴 때 하나님께서 내 스트러글을 이렇게 이 작은 거지만은 내 마음이 어떤 상태인지 아시고 또 이렇게 도와주시는 아주 페이스풀한 그런 하나님 것을 깨닫게 되었습니다.
Yes. So that was Orca. Elam, I'll talk a little bit shorter, but Elam is the second location, and it's actually not the mountains. It's like right by India, like the border of India, and it's like kind of like a place for like tea fields. Like that's all like tea right there, if you can see. And even before we came here, we were just like, what do you want, God, what do you want us to do for the people here? And the funny thing was, when we got there, and we went to the church, and we went to like different house fellowships, we realized how on fire they were for God, and how much they knew about God and about the Word, even like more than us, because we're still like young, and we're just like, oh my goodness, like how can we serve these people, and how can we like preach, how can we teach to these people? At that time, those are like my thoughts, but I realized even like a testimony, like the fact that we're young and we're out here serving and like doing missions, like would move in our hearts and really like make them hunger for even more.
이제 두 번째로 간 지역은 일람이라는 곳인데 이곳은 산이 아니고 저런 그 힐 같은 그런 곳에서 차를 재배하는 그런 곳이었어요. 그래서 이제 그곳에 가서 한 집을 가정을 방문하게 되는데 그곳에 가니까는 이제 그 그리스도인들이 거기 모여서 있는데 얼마나 하나님에 대한 열정과 하나님을 정말 사모하고 하나님을 알고 더 많이 알고 그리고 하나님에 대한 너무 믿음이 좋은 그런 사람들이어서 생각에 어떻게 우리가 우리같이 젊고 그리고 정말 그 사람들 볼 때 우리가 어떻게 저 사람들에게 하나님을 대해서 전도를 하며 사역을 할 수 있을까 하는 그런 부담감을 가졌는데 근데 비록 우리가 어리고 그 사람들처럼 막 그렇게 할지 못할지라도 이렇게 우리의 모습으로 이렇게 나가서 사람들을 섬기고 전도하고 하는 그 모습을 통해서 오히려 그 사람들이 더 하나님에 대한 하나님을 사모하는 그 마음이 더 간절해지는 것을 알게 되었어요.
Yeah, and so what we did there was preaching as well, teachings. A lot of it was helping at the school and serving the kids. Like we actually were teachers for like the 3 weeks that we were there, and like 5 days a week. 5 days a week we would have class. And the thing is, it's a Christian school, but all the students except for like only a handful, maybe less than like even 10 students, not even 10 students, were Christian. Everybody else were like Hindu. Their families were Hindu, and the only reason why they brought their students here because it's a private school. It's like for good education. And so the one thing they told us that we can't do when we go there was talk about Jesus or like preach the gospel and stuff like that. But that didn't really, we did in the end. But you can share that.
그곳에서 3주 동안 한 일이 학교에 가서 아이들을 가르치는 그런 일이었는데 이곳은 크리스천 스쿨이었어요. 그래서 그 프라이빗 크리스천 스쿨이어서 이제 아이들이 여기에 모이는데 근데 그곳은 크리스천 스쿨이지만은 크리스천 스쿨 크리스천 아이들은 몇 명 되지 않고 그 대다수가 이제 힌두 가정에서 오는 그런 아이들이었어요. 그래서 미션 팀이 그곳에서 3주 동안 5일 동안 이제 아이들을 예수님을 대해서 소개한다든지 그런 일을 할 수가 없었어요.
But in the end, all our teachings were around the Bible and about, what's that word? Like biblical truths and how they can live their life out in that without having to be like, you need to give your life to Jesus. So it was a lot of like really getting to learn how to love these children and see how Jesus sees them, because it more so about like bringing them to the salvation was actually planting the seed of that once we plant that seed that people, and like because it's already a Christian school and all the teachers are Christian, that's some way they're going to be poured more into, and they kind of have like more of like a curiosity now, because in the end we did preach even though we weren't allowed to, and I told a lot of like Bible stories, and like we did ended up talking about Jesus. We didn't get in trouble though.
그렇게 예수님 대해서 실질적으로 아이들한테 전할 수 없는 그런 상황이지만, 그러나 이제 3주 동안 아이들이 가르친 걸 그러니까 말씀을 가지고 성경을 가지고 성경 수도를 얘기한다든지, 그리고 그 말씀을 통해서 아이들이 어떻게 살아야지 되는지 그런 쪽으로 이제 가르치고, 그리고 거기에 있는 선생들이 다 크리스천 선생들이기 때문에 이게 직접적으로 너 예수님 믿고 그리스도인이 돼야 된다 하는 그런 말은 직접적으로 할 수 없었지만은 그 말씀을 베이직으로 한 모든 지칭이었기 때문에 아이들에게 그 복음에 대한 그 시드가, 그러니까 씨앗이 심겨져서 더 예수님에 대해서 알고자 하는 그런 마음들을 가지게끔 하고, 그리고 결국에는 마지막에는 말씀을 증거했어요. 아이들이 그 팀이 가서 설교도 하고 그리고 예수님도 전하고 그렇게 했는데 아무도 거기에 대해서 나무라지 않았다는 거죠.
Yeah, so even in our classes, we all had different classes. I had me and two other, my leader and another team member. We were leading like this, like these kids, like maybe 50 students, and it was even crazy, just like so fun, because we got to teach them even how to pray and hear God's voice, and they were all just like sitting there, like trying to listen to God's voice about this one person, how to encourage them, and I was just like, I feel like they don't even realize what they were doing.
그곳에서 이제 아이들에게 어떻게 기도해야 되는가 그런 것도 가르쳐주고, 사실은 그리고 하나님 목소리를 어떻게 들을 수 있나, 어떻게 하나님의 음성을 들을 수 있나 그런 것까지 이제 가르쳐주면서 애들이 막 따라서 이렇게 하는데, 실제적으로 이 아이들이 거기서 알아서 하는지 어쩐지는 모르겠지만은 그렇게 아이들을 가르쳐줬어요.
Yeah, God was really doing a lot in the school. He was really working through the school, because this is a Christian school. He put all the students in there for a reason. They're not in there just for education, but they're in there to know about Jesus. And that is why I know that God put them in that school for a reason, and like just the timing that we were there as well, that we could really have just time between us and like really teach them and show them how to love well, love their family, love their friends, and all these different things. And so also like, yeah, as well as on top of that, we were like preaching in the churches as well. I went the first week, and that pastor had two other churches as well. So after that, we would go to a different church, and then another team would be like at the other church preaching. So it was like a lot of preaching, like maybe 4 times a week, or 5 times a week, somebody had to preach or share a testimony. And it was really just like a way to uplift people, because even they shared as well, like even though they're more knowledgeable in the word and things like that, just seeing us, they're like, we want to be like that as well. We want to go out there and like do what you guys are doing. Even though you guys are young, like the fact that you obeyed the Lord and that you're here and wanting to serve and like share the gospel.
그곳에 크리스천 스쿨이 아닌 프라이빗 스쿨이라서 부모들은 이 아이들에게 굿 에듀케이션, 그러니까는 좋은 교육을 시키고자 하는 그런 목적을 보냈지만, 하나님께서는 이 각각 아이들을 그 그곳에 오게 하신 그런 목적이 있었고 이유가 있었고 그리고 또 정말 이 크리스천 베이스가 된 그런 아이들을 가르치는 교육을 통해서 정말 아이들이 복음에 대해서 듣게 되고 그리고 또 이 선교 전도 간 그 팀들을 통해서 더 하나님께서 이 아이들에게 정말 귀하게 사용하시는 것을 알게 되었고 그리고 나서 이제 다른 교회로 또 가서 말씀을 전할 그런 기회가 있었는데 말씀을 이제 전가하게 되고 그 학교를 담당하던 그 목사님께서 다른 두 교회가 더 있었는데 그 교회들로 가서 이제 말씀을 전가하고 간증을 하고 그런 시간들을 가졌었는데 그곳에 있는 사람들은 정말 신앙이 좋고 믿음이 좋은 사람들이었지만 이 젊은이들을 보면서 더 뜨겁게 정말 저 젊은이들이 저런 모습으로 하나님을 섬기는 그 모습을 보면서 나도 정말 그렇게 해야 되겠다. 나도 저렇게 하나님을 섬기어 다른 데로 가서 정말 복음을 전하고 싶다 하는 그런 열정들을 심어줬습니다.
And also just about myself, although like everything that was happening in Gorka, there was just a lot of confusion, and I didn't understand I didn't think that I was growing, and I didn't see what was going on. But from there, I realized, and really like my team members really just spoke into me, that God was teaching me something very different than what I was expecting, and from lecture phase, because it was just like this crazy, just like so many things happening. But here He was teaching me that for the long run, to be in friendship, to be in intimacy with Him. And the thing was, I'm not sure if I explained it on Sunday, but like this tower that I had built, and it was a very messy tower. It was just like terrible. And just coming here, like God has been like tearing down that tower of just this ugly tower, just like deliverance, like all these different things of not loving myself and all these different things. He was just tearing it down. And on the outreach, it was that foundation once again with Jesus. And from there, He was like building it. But when you destroy a big tower, it's like one big blow. It just all kind of falls down. But when you're building, it takes time and it takes process. And that's what He was teaching me as well. Like friendship with Him, intimacy with Him, foundation is with Him, and that my roots will be strong. And that's why it was a bit harder for me, because I wasn't seeing these little growths that He was putting in me and teaching me.
현이가 처음 아울리치에 간 그곳에서 굉장히 많은 그런 컨퓨저가 되고 힘든 그런 일들이 많이 있었는데 그것은 하나님께서 현이가 이제까지 현이 나름대로 빌드해온 하나님과의 그 관계, 그러니까는 온전한 그런 관계가 아니고 지난 선대에 했지만은 이렇게 부정적이고 그리고 스스로를 사랑하지 못하는 그런 걸 통해서 또 빌드업된 하나님과의 관계, 다른 사람과의 관계, 스스로 세운 그런 타워를 하나님께서 완전히 다 부숴뜨리시고 이 어려움들을 통해서 정말 하나님과의 친밀한 그런 관계들을 통해서 다시 그 무너뜨린 그 타워를 하나님께서 하나하나 다시 그러니까 온전한 모습으로 세워가신다는 것을 깨닫게 되었습니다.
Yeah, so when I was in Elam, it was like very evident, like I finally understood what He was teaching me, and that of course I was growing, but at that time it was just like so much that I didn't see clearly, but I was really able to like walk out in like friendship with Him and like intimacy, like reading the Word, spending time in prayer, worshiping, stuff like that. It was a really good time for that.
그래서 돌카에서는 정말 일람에서는 하나님이 그렇게 현이를 다시 세워주시는 그걸 통해서 현이가 이제 영적으로 성장해 갈 수가 있었고, 그래서 정말 하나님을 진정으로 이제 알고 그 말씀을 읽고 또 그 하나님과 관계를 통해서 점점 성숙해져가는 그렇게 되었어요.
So, oh yeah, I forgot to include. We did a lot of physical labor too.
그곳에서 많은 이제 일을 많이 했어요.
Because there was actually supposed to be a wedding, and we had to clear out the whole entire field, like like hoeing, like planting, and constructing. Yeah, this we had built, and I built that arch out of vines. So we did that for the church as well, and just like serving with our hands. And that was like also another way of just to like help the church. A lot more happened, but maybe there's not much time. So I want to talk about Dopa, and that was our last location. That's actually in the Himalayas. And at first, we were supposed to spend 3 weeks in there, but we only got 2 weeks there because the first week we were stuck at like this airport area. It's called Nepal Ganj. But the thing was, God was actually wanting us to do something in Nepal Ganj before we left. But at that time, I hated it because I was so sick. Like I had like lots of diarrhea, like vomiting, and I couldn't eat for like 4 days. I was just in bed, and I realized that one day, like we were actually gonna go out and do like evangelism. I was feeling a little bit better, but I was a little bit weak. And me and my one friend, we ended up talking to this one lady, one Hindu lady. Like her children are Christian, and she wants to be Christian, but then she's like, I need to make myself right before I go to Jesus, stuff like that. We ended up following her home in a 25-minute taxi, and from then, like, God really like changed my heart about Nepal Ganj, because the people there, it was actually such a beautiful place that we didn't see, because in that area it was very like dirty, like humid. It was a very, very dirty place, like slums, slums. But yeah, God was really working in that place, and there were actually, I think, salvation and also like healings, and just like people wanting to like know more.
마지막 아우리치가 돌파인데 그곳에서 원래는 3주 동안 하기로 했는데 2주밖에 지낼 수 없었는데 왜냐하면 그때 눈이 너무 많이 와가지고는 에어포트로 가서 캔슬 돼버려가지고 그 에어포트 옆에서 이제 일주일을 그렇게 지냈죠. 그런데 그곳에서는 현이는 너무너무 아파가지고는 계속 들어가고 다이어리아 들어있는 거 그리고 너무 이제 아파가지고 그래서 너무너무 싫었다고 그래요. 근데 하나님께서 그곳에 일주일을 지내게 한 것도 하나님이 목적이 이유가 있어가지고 그렇게 한 것을 알게 되는데 아우리치 그곳에서 또 전도를 하러 나간 한 여자를 만났어요. 근데 그 여자는 정말 예수님 믿고 싶어하는 그런 여성이었는데 근데 그 여성은 내가 예수님 믿으려면 내가 좀 더 나은 사람, 더 예수님 믿기에 합당한 사람이 돼야지 예수님 믿어야지 된다고 그런 생각을 가지고 있는 사람인데 근데 이제 얘들이 그 여자를 집을 따라갔는데 25분 동안 이제 택시를 타고서 그 집을 갔는데 너무 휴밋하고 너무너무 상태가 좋지 않은 꼭 설렁가 같은 너무 뭐라고 그래야 되나 설렁가가 뭐지? 그러니까 너무 거지같이 사는 그런 거지 같은 그런 곳이었어요.
But then in the end we got to like pray for her and encourage also there was a Christian lady there and we got to pray for her as well. And it was just like a really good time and like more like God was just changing our hearts. Like every people that we meet that we're supposed to love the people and we're supposed to love the place. Even though the situation was like very difficult, it became clear to do that. So eventually we were able to leave for Dopa on that scary plane. I was so scared. I cried because it just like it like what was that? It like fell in the sky. But we got there safely because we have 목적. So the thing was, we were the first YWAM fire and fragrance team to go here. There were other YWAM teams, but we were the first fire and fragrance school to go here. And we were actually staying at a pastor's house. Maybe.
그 여자의 집에서는 가가지고 정말 배운 게 어떤 상태이든 사람이든지 어떤 지역이든지 내가 좋아할 만한 곳이든지 아닌지 상관없이 만나는 그 모든 사람들을 예수님 사람으로 사랑해야 된다는 거고 또 하나님께서 그들을 사랑하신다는 것을 깨닫게 되었고 그리고 나서 이제 드디어 히말라야로 올라가게 되었는데 이 조그마한 플레인을 타고서 40분 동안 가는 그런 에어플레인이었는데 그곳에서 너무 무서워가지고 막 뿌듯해요. 갑자기 완전 줄압해버리니까 에어플레인.
So yeah, once the pastor.
패스터 집에 가게 됐는데 그곳에는 Fire and Fragrance 그게 성령의 불과 향기, 예수님의 향기라는 그런 이름을 가진 이 팀이 그런 학교에 내가 간 곳이 그런 학교인데 그곳에서는 처음으로 이 그룹이 가게 되었어요.
Yeah. So actually, it was a very hard thing to do because the pastor didn't want any like missionaries to come because before in the past, like there were false like missionaries, like false teachers and stuff that came and would say like crazy things. And also like other warrior teams are like all they do is just like sit around. They say they have a vision for Dopa, but they're just like sitting around, like sleeping in and stuff like that.
그 목사님께서는 선교사에 대한 그런 좋지 않은 그런 걸 가지고 계시는데 왜냐하면 그 전에 왔던 선교 팀들이 와서 정말 하나님 그 비전을 가지고 왔다고 그러면서 정말 사역을 하지 않고 아주 그냥 게으르게 레이하고 그리고 정말 선교 일을 하지 않고 그런 모습들을 봤기 때문에 그리고 잘못된 그 가르침들을 가져와서 오히려 그 사역을 그 방해하는 그런 일들이 있었는가 봐요. 그래서 오지 않기를 원했단 말이에요. 이 팀들이.
Yeah. Well, the false testimony one was like some kind of like I don't know, some Japanese man, somebody else, like some other people like from Japan and like foreign lands that came, and then the cops actually like came and like threw them out. The village was like crazy.
그 팀들이 어떤 팀들이 와가지고는 이상한 짓을 하고 그래가지고는 경찰들이 와서 쫓아내고 그런 일들도 있었어요.
So we had to be like more careful. But once we got the okay to go there, we were like doing everything that we could to like not seem like lazy. We wanted to like serve them and all these things. But the thing was, there was not much to do, and the pastor he was very strict. And he was like, we wanted to like go out and like share the gospel. He's like, no, I already did that. You don't need to do that. I shared with everybody. And he's like, and we want to go out this day. He's like, no, there was actually a suicide that day too, and so we couldn't go out and just because like cops and stuff like that. And like kind of, I felt like there were so many like reasons why we couldn't go out. But the main thing was, okay, I want to talk about our vision for Dopa, what we felt from the Lord. Was when we go to this place, especially with this family, that we need to love them and be like learn intimacy and actually be intentional with the people. And we realized it's actually with this one family because if we didn't build that relationship, that strong relationship with the pastor's family, then the next teams that come probably wouldn't have been able to come. So we were the ones that had to make it like secure. But like really building that relationship with the pastor's family.
그곳에서는 별로 사역을 할 수가 없었던 게 목사님께서 굉장히 좀 스트릭한 그런 분이어서 사역을 하지 못하기 때문에 계속 막으시는 거예요. 이건 이미 해서 내가 가르쳤으니까 할 필요 없고 그런 일들이 있었고 또 누군가가 자살을 해서 경찰들이 많이 있고 그래서 계속 아우리치를 할 수 있는 그런 사정이 못 됐어요. 근데 한 가지 이제 하나님께서 이곳에 보낸 그 이유는 이 팀들이 목사님 가정과 아주 스트롱한 그런 릴레이션십을 빌드업하도록 그렇게 하는 게 목적이었던 것 같아요. 왜냐하면 목사님이 이제까지는 선교사들에 대한 그런 부정적인 그런 게 있었기 때문에 이 다음 팀들을 위해서 길을 닦아주는 거죠. 그러니까 좋은 그 관계를 형성하고 그리고 정말 그리스도인의 모습으로 그렇게 하는 그 모습을 통해서 이제 오픈하는 거예요. 목사님이 이 마음을 좀 더 오픈하면은 더 다른 팀들이 왔을 적에 사역을 진짜 할 수 있게끔 하는 그런 일들이.
So another like big thing for us, like of course that we realized that we weren't coming here with like preaching, all these like crazy things like normally like a missionary would do, but actually coming like with the needs and like serving them, like through our actions that they would see like oh, they are different. They are Christians because of the way that they're acting, the way that they serve, the way that they love, and the way that they're being intentional, and not just saying like, I'm gonna pray for you and I'm gonna leave, but like actually like getting to know that person and really like building a friendship, basically.
그곳에서는 가서 막 복음을 전하고 아니면은 사람들을 잡고서 막 기도를 하고 그런 그 눈에 보이는 그런 사역을 통해서 그게 아니고 정말 그 사람들을 섬기고 사랑하고 눈에 보이지 않게 그렇게 그런 사역을 하는 걸 통해서 그 사람들과 관계를 스트롱한 그런 릴레이션십을 가질 수 있는 그게 더 중요한 일이었던 거죠.
And not only that, like in our team as well, we really got to like bond so much and really grow as like a real family.
그 사람들뿐만 아니라 이제 이 팀들 자체도 서로 이 지역에서 있는 동안에 더 스트롱하게 서로 좋은 관계를 가지고 정말 하나가 되는 그런 일들이 있었습니다.
And so even more, I guess it was like really good for us and for me because every single day we had they cut out time of just like spending time with Jesus, like alone together or like worship and like intercession and like just we did that all the time, like worship intercession and like Bible reading, but like even more just like really spending time with God alone and really like praying for this place as well. And from there, because we had a lot more free time, we did 4 days of burning, but then it was like 6 hours a day. So in the morning we'd wake up at 6, like do 6 to 12 and do like prayer burn and like fast and then like really just like get like a vision for this place and really pray over the place and the people.
직접적으로 사역을 할 그런 기회가 적었기 때문에 오히려 이제 하나님과 더 깊은 관계를 가지는 기도를 계속적으로 이제 매일같이 시간을 정해가지고는 몇 시간씩 기도를 하고 그리고 정말 이 지역을 위해서 정말 기도하는 그런 일들을 할 수가 있었어요.
It was just like an amazing time because look how beautiful the mountains were. It was something that I could never see before, and it was a little bit sad because we talked to this one lady and we're like, you live in such like a beautiful place, and she's like, it's not beautiful. Like I want to get out of here because this is all they see. Like a lot of people like grew up there and just see the mountains all like every single day, so they're like it's nothing. But to us, like who don't know and don't see these things regularly, like wow, like God, your creations are so great. But the fact that like I want like them to actually see just how beautiful and how crazy that like God made these mountains.
마음이 좀 아팠던 거는 그곳에 사는 사람들 아니 그곳은 정말 힘든 곳이었지만 너무나 자연이 아름답고 정말 하나님의 그 창조하신 것이 얼마나 진짜 이거 좀 보세요. 이렇게 아름다운데 거기에 정작 사는 사람들은 그걸 못 보는 거예요. 늘 보니까 어떻게 해서든지 그곳에서 막 떠나고 싶은 그런 마음들만 가지고 있는 거죠. 근데 정말 이 사람들에게 그 눈을 열어서 하나님께서 이렇게 아름다운 것을 그 사람들에게 주셨다는 것을 정말 전하고 싶었어요.
Okay, how about that? And finally, on our last day, like the thing that we had been desiring before, like just like healings and like miracles and all that stuff, right? We realized that God was actually trying to work in their heart first, because oftentimes people would go to God just for healings, like they would get the healing and they're like turn back. But because of like their faith was still low, they still didn't know God that well. But that's why oftentimes for certain people there weren't healings, because he touched their hearts. From there, like they would like change their life and change like the things that they do, and from there like seek him themselves. Like of course like other people would pray for them, but like really like earnestly like seeking God for healing over their body.
정말 이 사역을 통해서 하나님께서 사람들을 고쳐주고 막 힐링 그런 게 나타나고 그러기를 기대를 했는데 그거보다는 오히려 그 한 사람 한 사람의 그 마음을 하나님께서 타치해가지고 그 스스로 정말 하나님을 막 사모하게 하고 그래서 그 사람들이 믿음으로 기도할 때 자기 스스로 그 믿음으로 나갈 때 힐링하는 그런 일들이 있었어요. 그래서 그냥 병만 이렇게 기도 가지고 낫게 되면은 다시 진짜 하나님 알지 못하면 병나면 떠나가 버리잖아요. 그래서 하나님께서 그게 아니고 정말 이 사람들이 정말 예수님을 만나고 하나님을 만남으로 해서 스스로 정말 하나님께 나가고 하나님을 찾고자 하는 그런 마음을 주시는 게 하나님의 목적이었다는 걸 알게 되었죠.
Yeah, and talk about crazy, but God is always so faithful because on the last day that we were there, it was actually nighttime. There was a salvation of this one lady, of a Hindu lady. She had very bad tumor in her breast, and like they even showed like the guys that they were there, like it was very bad, like to the point of like, is she even gonna live anymore? From there, they were so sure that she was gonna get healed. They were praying over, and they felt that they had to bring her back to the pastor's house where like all of us were. And from there, we were like praying over her, but we believe that there was healing as well. But more than that, like she gave her life to Jesus once again, like with her own like mouth and confessing that she wants to follow Jesus, because she also for healing, but really like everything like in her life, because Nepal has this thing called class. I don't know if you guys know. There's like the priest caste, and she was like the lowest caste, which like everybody like disregards, and like they're nothing. They can't get jobs, and they're known to be people that like ask for things because they don't have anything. But really like that she is special and that she's been put in the world for a reason. So like God changed her heart, and from there like she gave her life to Jesus, and that was like I guess like the biggest highlight from Indopa.
마지막 날 이제 여성분이 브레스트 캔서를 아주 이제 더 이상 살 수 없는 그런 지경에 있는 브레스트 캔서를 가진 여자였는데, 이제 목사님도 그리고 모두 다 기도를 했는데 하나님께서 그 하트를 체인지해가지고 정말로 그 스스로를 하나님 앞에 다시 헌신하는, 하나님께 드리는 그런 역사가 있었어요. 그래서 정말 그 전에는 이 여자가 그 인도도 그렇고 그 지역 사람들이 그 지역에가 다 그런 게 있는 것 같아요. 캐스트, 그러니까는 우리 한국에서 양반 상금 그런 게 있듯이 캐스트 4종류의 레벨이 있거든요. 근데 그 중에서 이 여자는 가장 낮은 가장 천한 그런 위치에 있는 그런 여자였는데, 그래서 그 가장 로우리스 레벨에 있는 그런 사람들은 거지처럼 사람들에게 구걸해야 되고, 그리고 어디를 가든지 천대받고, 그러니까는 부정한, 미국에도 그렇더라고요. 미국에도 그렇대요. 그런 사람들이 와가지고 여전히 그렇게 살고 있대요. 그 사람들이 타치면은 타치할 수도 없는 거예요. 가까이 갈 수도 없는 거예요. 근데 이 여자는 정말 그때 그 순간 하나님 앞에 자신을 하나님 앞에 드림으로써 어떻게 됐어? 그 삶을 하나님께 드리는 그게 가장 큰 셀레이션, 그게 가장 큰 하이라이트예요.
Yes. And yeah, that was the last day, and the next day we trekked back, and that was the easiest trek back. Honestly, going there was very hard for me because I was really sick and had altitude sickness, and one of the older like uncles, like Samchung, like carried my bag, and I carried his small backpack. It seemed so hard because there's so much snow, but going back I was like, so it was really good. And even to the very end, God was so faithful, because the thing was we weren't going to be able to fly back to Kathmandu because there's like so much snow that it was continuing to snow, and it said that it was going to snow all night. But thank God it didn't really snow in the night, but in the morning time it was like completely foggy. It was just like right here, you couldn't really see anything, and if there's too much fog then we couldn't fly. And we were all, so many, actually I wasn't worried at all, I had so much faith, but like everybody, most people were very just like, no, like really upset, like having a hard time, because it's supposed to be our debrief, and that's kind of like our vacation, I guess, just like our team time, like spending time. We were gonna miss it, but in the end we were able to fly after like, yeah, we prayed over it too. I had a dream. My dream was we got on the plane and then we flew, and then I woke up, I was like, thank you Jesus, and I went back to sleep, but I knew that we were gonna fly, so we did. And it's just like a small thing, but still, it's like,
하나님께서는 끝까지 정말로 신실하게 모든 것들을 다 순조롭게 해주시는데 내려올 적에도 정말 포캐스트가 너무 좋지 않아가지고 플라이를 할 수 없다고 그렇게 했는데 이제 이곳에서 내려오면 일주일 동안 집에 돌아오기 전에 이제 베케이션이에요. 얘들 하고 싶은 거 하고 거기서 인조하는 그런 시간들인데 이 내려오지 못하면 그 시간들을 갖지를 못하니까 사람들이 다 실망해가지고 있는데 현이가 이제 꿈을 꿨는데 비행기를 타고 갔더래요. 그래서 하나님께서 그렇게 해주실 거라는 그런 믿음 가졌는데 정말 그 안개 때문에 갈 수가 없는 그런 상황인데 하나님께서 플라이백 할 수 있게 해주셨다고 합니다.
So that was my missions. I mean, of course, a lot more happened, but that was kind of like the overview of everything that happened in like the place. And yeah, it was honestly life changing, and just the way that I view like the different country, like Nepal as well, but like different people and like different cultures as well. Like God really just like cleared my lens, because before like something also like I didn't realize I was so privileged, and that the place that we live in, that I have everything. And I didn't understand that until like I went to Nepal and like got rich, and these people could only have one meal like for the rest of their life. They literally eat dal bhat every single day, not because they want to, they don't have any other like resources or like things like that.
이 선교 출입을 통해서 그전에는 내가 얼마나 이렇게 미국에서 이렇게 사는 게 얼마나 축복되고 모든 것을 다 가졌다는 것을 알지 못했는데 그곳에 가보니까는 너무 절실하게 느껴지는 게 그곳에 사는 사람들 너무 먹을 게 없기 때문에 똑같은 카레 같은 그런 건데 그거를 평생 동안 그 한 가지만 먹는데요. 근데 그것도 나중에 제가 이제 현이 때문에 유튜브 같은 거 보고 그러니까 그거 먹을 수 있는 거는 그 사람들은 축복이에요. 그것도 먹을 게 없어요. 조그마한 감자 가지고 끼니를 때우는 거예요. 많은 사람들이. 그래서 이 출입을 통해서 정말로 하나님께 감사하는 그런 계기가 됐죠.
Yeah, it's like loving each individual person and just stuff like that. Like so much has happened, but yeah, and I'm just so thankful for everybody here that they supported me, prayed for me, even when I was sick and like my knee and just everything, and for supporting me like so much financially. So I'm so blessed that I like am a part of this church, and that everybody here like cared for me so well, and that I could even experience something like this. And I hope that you guys are blessed by what I shared as well. That you guys have even more like desire to like go out there and just like even deeper hunger, just like wanting to know God even more. Even though I know you guys do, but like even more like once again reminding yourself of that first love. Like that first love is Jesus.
정말 이 출입을 갈 수 있게 후원을 해주시고 또 기도로 또 계속 이렇게 기도해 주시고 너무 감사하고요. 그리고 정말 우리 교회 내가 이 교회에 소속되어 있다는 게 너무 감사하고 그리고 또 이 쉐어링을 통해서 우리 교회도 여러분들도 다 똑같은 그런 정말 하나님을 알고자 하는 그런 열정이 생기시길 원하고 그리고 첫사랑을 예수님께서 우리의 첫사랑이라는 것을 기억하시고 그렇게 되셨으면 좋겠습니다. 감사합니다.